This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. The holidays are over, the decorations are down, and suddenly everything feels a little empty. It's normal to feel the winter blues after the holiday excitement. January, February, and March are by far my least favorite months of the year. It's cold and dark, and I have to get some extra vitamin D on board. I also need to keep my regular scheduled appointments with my therapist. So if you're feeling that post-holiday funk, I definitely suggest you checking out BetterHelp because maybe it's time to talk. You might also be one of those people like me who makes New Year's resolutions and you get super motivated. So maybe you need someone behind you to hold you accountable and come up with a plan to meet your goals. BetterHelp is super convenient, totally online. You have a therapist right at your fingertips whenever you need them. So head over to betterhelp.com/wifeofcrime1 to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/wifeofcrime1 for 10% off your first month.
More Chumba Casino fan mail. Love this. It says, Dear Ryan, I love Chumba Casino. They're so much fun. I love the wild ride from the social slots to the Slingo to jackpots quicker than a 6-time real spin. Everybody's finding their fun at Chumba Casino. Why don't you find out for yourself? Head to ChumbaCasino.com and enjoy hundreds of casino-style games for free with your welcome bonus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
This podcast is an unscripted, unedited conversation about true crime. We take the cases very seriously, but I don't take myself seriously at all, and neither should you. Welcome to Wife of Crime.
So Russ, you know one of our goals is to have a cabin out in the woods to relax and escape our daily lives. Well, after I tell you this story today, you might rethink that goal. Because I'm going to tell you a case that sounds like it could be the plot of a movie. This is the story of how the Tiede family experienced a Christmas holiday from hell. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Wife of Crime.
What's up?
And Merry Christmas.
Bah humbug, screw that. I hate Christmas.
Russ secretly likes Christmas, but wants to pretend like he hates Christmas.
That's not true. I don't like presents. I don't like pressure. How do we get into this right away?
Because it's our Christmas episode. Merry Christmas, everybody. We haven't talked to you guys in a really long time. And we decided to give you a Christmas gift of our voices.
That's so cheesy. I hope you guys get coal in your stockings.
If you're new here, this is Wife of Crime, a podcast where I tell my husband my favorite true crime stories and he reacts to them.
Word.
My name's Jess.
And I'm Russ. I never know what to say when you say, I tell my husband my favorite true crime stories and he reacts to them. And you pause and wait for me to say something. I never know what to say there.
No, I don't. I'm not waiting for you to say something. I'm just pausing for dramatic effect.
So in your head, there's like music, like dong. That wasn't dramatic. That was a gong.
Well, it's been a while. We've gotten so many messages asking us where the hell we've been. We've been gone, but we're back. And this is the beginning of our reboot of Wife of Crime. And season 2.
Yeah, so I guess this will be season 2. We did the first season. It was like a whole year or so. Like, we just kept doing it. We never planned on seasons, but welcome to season 2.
Yeah, we took a break.
We're just winging it.
And now we're back. So I have a story today going along with our Christmas theme.
That's for my peeps. Cheers to you guys. I wanted to say something.
What?
So, you know, obviously it's a pandemic, and hopefully someone listens to this episode 50 years from now because we're super popular or something, but probably not. And am I the only one that gets recognized with their masks everywhere they go? Not by like people that listen to the podcast, but like in your neighborhood, people say like, "Hey, Russ," and I'm like, "Fuck me." I just wanted to like get milk, and I didn't want to talk to you. There has to be like
No one recognizes me
everywhere I go with my mask on. I'm like, and when the pandemic first happened, I was like, it's gonna be kind of dope. At least I get to go outside, and no one's gonna recognize me.
Wow, you're so famous.
No, this isn't from like. This is from people I know in real life, dummy.
I know. I just think it's funny that you're so popular. People will even recognize you with a mask on.
There's other people that are agreeing with me right now.
I'm not disagreeing.
Oh, and there was supposed to be people like I shout out to that bought merch and stuff, and
you didn't make a list.
I didn't even look it up. I forgot because I was just watching TV, and then we like, let's record now.
Yeah, we weren't very
I'll
prepared.
get you next time. It's my girl from Facebook. I told her I would, and then there was someone else that like bought a cup, and their cup broke, like the handle broke off, and I told them I would send them a cup. Like, we don't have the cups here, all the merch. It's like on wifecrime.com to a third-party person, so we never touch it. But I forgot who it was, so I'm sorry. And if it was you and you're listening, just send me another message and I'll send it. Because
you forgot to even send her the cup after you told her you would?
I forgot to send her the cup, and I told her I would because I was like, damn, her whiskey cup broke.
We can go back through our old messages and find out.
I thought about that, but then I went through like the first 20 and it wasn't in those, and I was like, this is getting ridiculous.
Well, we got so many messages. We love you guys so much. Thank you for all the support and love and begging for us to come back. We read each and every one of them. I try really hard to respond to everybody's messages. If I didn't respond to you, please know that I still read it. It's just sometimes I get really busy and don't respond right away. But we read everything and we heard you, and now we're delivering new episodes. So, Christmas episode. This story that I'm about to tell you could literally be the plot of a movie, like a thriller/scary movie. It's a crazy story. And I first heard about it from, do you know the show that 48 Hours, you probably don't know, but I'm sure people listening know. The show 48 Hours puts out, it's called 48 Hours Live to Tell.
No, but I watched 30 for 30. That's on ESPN.
Literally nothing to do with anything I'm about to say.
They both have minutes. 48, 30.
Okay, well, 48 Hours does Live to Tell, and it is, people who survive crazy things talking about the crimes that they survived.
Like that show that I like, I Shouldn't Be Alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like that, except this is more crime related. So the story is tragic and it's brutal in some parts, but it's also a not me, not today survivor story and a fight for survival that is pretty nuts.
Yeah, that's dope. I like those survivor stories when they fight back.
Well, I figured for Christmas, we could do something Christmas related, this story honestly kind of has everything. So Merry Christmas, everyone. This is the Tiede family Christmas murders. Are you ready?
Yep.
So December 22nd, 1990. Okay, that's where we're going. Kay and Rolf Tiede were a couple from Salt Lake City. And they owned this gorgeous cabin in the mountains of Oakley, Utah. Yeah, I know. That's like definitely a dream of ours to have a cabin in the woods. Yeah,
and I love mountain biking, so I just want to like go live in Utah and do outdoor stuff.
Well, they owned this cabin in Oakley, Utah, and it was deep.
Instead, I live in the Bronx and got to walk through clouds of hookah in the street. Hookah smoke clogs your lungs.
So this cabin was deep in the middle of nowhere, like super deep in the middle of nowhere. It's a place where the family honestly truly cherished it. They used to spend holidays and birthdays and tons of special occasions in this cabin. And it was something that meant a lot to them. And it wasn't just the immediate family. It was also extended family. So like aunts, uncles, cousins, they would all come and spend holidays there. It was really cool. So they decided to spend Christmas at the Tiede cabin.
Does it snow in Utah? Or is it always warm?
It's super snow. No.
In my mind, it was always warm, so I see like the deserts and the mountain bikes and stuff.
No, they have a lot of snowy places. In fact, this cabin was so deep in the mountains that in the winter, you couldn't even get to it by car. They had to park at the bottom of like a 2-mile drive away and take snowmobiles up to the cabin.
Oh, I'm out. That cabin sucked.
No, they loved it because it was so secluded.
It was cold.
So they decided to spend Christmas in the cabin, and Rolf and Kay went like a week earlier, decorated the whole cabin.
Rolf?
I just told you his name is Rolf, Tiede.
Like The Sound of Music? Rolf?
Yes, Rolf from The Sound of Music, yeah. Same name.
Okay. I thought you mispronounced it was like Ralph.
No, his name is Rolf, like from The Sound of Music. So they went a week ahead of time, and Kay and Rolf decorated the whole cabin and prepared it for their 2 teenage daughters and their extended family to come. They even put presents under the tree. They were super excited. So the cabin, like I said, was so deep back that they had to park 2 miles away and drive snowmobiles because it was so secluded.
I wonder if they just leave them at the bottom of the driveway. I wonder how that works.
Yeah, so they had an area where they parked and their snowmobiles were kept, and then they would use them to go back and forth to the car.
So I was wondering in the Bronx, if you leave anything outside, someone takes it. Like you leave your motorcycle.
Yeah.
You ain't gonna have a motorcycle
I'm sure
no
it's
more.
not like the Bronx.
Yeah, like you leave your scooter. Now it's someone else's scooter. Someone stole it wearing an 8-ball jacket and they're rolling down the street.
So earlier in the day, on December 22nd, the family decided to stop in town to grab some food and drinks for their stay. And then they would head to the cabin. So Kay and her mom, Beth, and one of their teenage daughters, Lene, they finished the shopping a little earlier and decided to go up to the cabin first. So the 3 ladies pulled up with all their bags of food and drinks, and Lene, unfortunately, wasn't wearing any gloves. So she begged her Mom, can I just run inside really quick? My hands are freezing before I pick up all these bags and bring them in. And her mom was like, okay, no problem. So she ran inside, and when she did, she kind of saw this gray shadow like out of the corner of her eye, and she thought that it was maybe one of her cousins that ran and hid from her because her cousins were all going to be coming there too.
Yeah.
So she just thought, it was one of them. So she started laughing and walked into the kitchen towards the fridge where she saw this shadow.
Now, is this I'm wondering, like I always think it could be a squatter in a cabin that people don't go to a lot. Like,
It could be.
people don't see lights on in a house and they're like, well, I guess I'm just going to live there.
Well, she's 16. All her cousins are on their way anyway, so she doesn't even think about that. She just assumes it's one of her family members. So she walks over to the fridge to where she saw the shadow, and all of a sudden, a man with a gray sweatshirt and frizzy hair jumps out with a gun pointed at her. She was terrified. Within a few seconds, Kay and Beth, her mother and grandmother, walk through the door carrying all their bags of food and drinks. And as soon as they do, another man pops out. He's wearing Coke bottle glasses, and he has a gun pointed directly at Kay. She immediately drops all her bags, and she's so confused. She starts begging him. She's like, I don't know what you're doing here, but I'll do whatever you want. Like, just don't hurt us. I'll do anything you want.
Yeah.
And before she could even finish speaking, without hesitation, he shoots her.
No, that's no hesitation is crazy. That means they didn't want anything but to kill you.
Then, after she falls to the ground...
And they probably didn't look threatening because they're like, a couple women.
Yeah.
3 women.
3 women. She falls to the ground, and then immediately he points the gun at Beth, Lene's grandmother, and shoots her in the head. Beth falls to the ground, and Lene watches her grandmother gasp for air and then die right in front of her. And Lene is like in total shock. She's just standing there staring at her mother and grandmother in a pool of blood, and she doesn't even know what to do. She's just in shock. But all of a sudden, she feels like this cold, round thing pressed against her back and realizes that the gun is now pushed up against her. She also realizes in that moment that her dad and sister are on the way to the cabin right behind them. Her sister's name is Trisha, and dad and sister, because not everybody can fit on these snowmobiles, so dad and sister were on a different snowmobile, and they were heading towards the cabin too.
That could be good, but it could be bad. I feel like in Utah, they probably have looser gun laws.
Probably.
Pops might be packing.
That's true. Well, imagine her inner battle that she must have had. Like, she wants so badly to run outside and warn them or stop them from coming.
She can't run outside.
But then she can't because she has a gun pressed against her, and she just watched these men kill her mother and grandmother, like, with no hesitation.
What are they doing? I don't think... I'm just curious. Like, I can't ask too many questions because then, like, it'll ruin the next part. Like, what are they doing in the house? Were they waiting for them, or they just were living there like some hobos?
I'll get to that later. So now Lene's mind is going a mile a minute, and she starts to try to, like, plan her next steps, right? She knew there was a car in the garage. Now, granted, like I said, you can't really drive in this much snow, but she knows a car is down there. And she tries to convince the guys to go down into the car in the garage and says, you can use the car. You can get out of here. Just take the car. So they walk down towards the garage. She tells them that there's the keys under the mat of the car. And, they're for it. So they walk down with her. And she's just trying to get them to leave pretty much before her sister and dad get there. It's like the only thing that she can try to do right now to save her and her family. So the three of them head down to the garage. And then they hear snowmobiles echoing outside as they approach the cabin. And Lene says that in this moment, like, her heart just sunk because she knew that her family is in danger.
So obviously he don't got a gun.
No, her dad.
She would have been hyped, like, my dad's here.
Yeah, her dad doesn't have a gun. So the man holding the gun on Lene starts to tie her up. And as he's doing so, the other man puts a ski mask on and then opens the garage door and confronts Rolf and Trish. So now all of them are in the garage at this point, and Lene and her dad lock eyes. And she says that it was like an unspoken language between them. Like, she's staring at her dad, they locked eyes, and she said she swears that her dad just could read her mind. And she's saying, something bad happened to mom and grandma. And he starts to get really anxious and worried.
Yeah, you could tell when someone looks at you
like things are really bad.
Something's going on.
So the men asked Rolf if he had any money. So he reached in his pockets, he emptied everything on the ground, and he's like, hey, this is everything I have. Take it. Take anything you want. You can take anything from the cabin. I don't care. This is everything. Just don't hurt my family.
They're not money motivated.
So, yeah, exactly. So the man tying up Lene yells at the other dude and says, shoot this motherfucker. Shoot the dad, right? But the guy he was yelling at, the other bad guy, he refuses to shoot him. So the guy who's barking orders at the other one holds up his gun and he points it at Rolf. Click. It doesn't shoot.
That's some movie shit.
Right? Again, click. It doesn't shoot.
He was out of bullets.
No. Third time, click. Boom, he shoots him in the head. So the two girls just watched their mother, their grandmother, and now their father.
Oh my God, that's even worse.
Okay.
Because, like, you think, like, oh, he's out of bullets. You're kind of relieved. And then I would have been talking shit. I'm like, you're out of bullets, bitch. And then he would have shot the shit out of me.
Yeah, well, the girls immediately start sobbing and just begging for their lives. And the men frantically look around because now they're trying to figure out, okay, what do we need to do? Like, they're starting to get frantic. Like, what's our next step? What's our next move?
More people could be coming. Maybe they're thinking.
So they grab all these gas cans because the family kept gas cans in the garage because they always had to keep the snowmobiles gassed up. So they had a lot of gas in the garage. And they grabbed all these gas cans and start dousing the whole house with gasoline, right? They doused the bodies, the house, everything. And they're just forcing the women at gunpoint, or the two girls at gunpoint, to, like, follow them around. So they decide to burn the cabin because it's the only way they can burn, like, some evidence, burn the evidence. That's what they think. So as they're, like, going around the house and dousing everything with gasoline, Lene says, she seems very observant, by the way, based on the interviews I watched with her. She says that
Where are they from?
Utah.
Oh, they're from Utah and have a cabin in Utah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
She notices that there is half-eaten food on the countertop. Like, as they're walking through the kitchen, she's realizing, okay, there's half-eaten food on the countertop. Then she looks over and realizes,
So they've been there.
Oh, our presents are opened under the tree. They opened all of our presents. And then she like realizes, oh, there's blankets. Like the bed is not made. It's like someone was sleeping in it.
I wonder when they put the presents there, because that's how you could kind of estimate how long the guy's been there.
No, they put it there like a week ahead of time.
So the guys haven't been living there all year. They might have been there about a week.
Yeah. So she starts to put together the fact that they'd been staying there in their cabin for the last, few days or a week. So as soon as the men light a match, they force the girls to run outside and get on the snowmobiles. They hold each girl at gunpoint. So one girl gets on one snowmobile with a guy with a gun behind her. The other girl gets on the other one with a guy with a gun behind her. Okay. And they force the girls to ride the snowmobiles down the mountain. So they have to drive off with these two men at gunpoint while their family is dead, and their cabin is burning to the ground.
Jeez.
Okay? Like I have chills right now. So now...
I don't do chills. That's another podcast.
No, they do full body chills, but I actually do have chills. I'm serious. So Trisha says as she's riding down the mountain, she thinks about running the snowmobile into a tree because she's like, at this point, I just want to.
That's what I was
want to
thinking.
kill him. Like I want to get him off the mobile. I want to just run it into a tree and pray that he flies.
It's 50-50 chance.
Yeah, like why
one of us
not?
might make it, and it might not be him. He might break his arm.
Yeah,
and then I'm just gonna torture him nonstop.
But then she thinks, my sister is right there. My sister has this guy pointing a gun at her. They just killed our family. Like, I don't want my sister out of my sight. I'm not leaving her for anything. I've lost everybody.
Maybe the sister would get the cue. Tree time.
Well, they're both just focusing on getting to the bottom of the mountain to the car. And they're just focusing on watching each other and protecting each other because they're all each other has left at this point.
Very understandable.
So they get about 2 miles down the mountain when all of a sudden, in a distance, they see a familiar face. Their Uncle Randy. He just got out of his car because he just parked his car to hop on a snowmobile and head up to the cabin. So Uncle Randy got out of his car and he notices these two snowmobiles coming down the mountain and he sees, those are blonde-headed girls. Those are my nieces. And so he starts like waving at them. But they stare right past him. They don't acknowledge him. They don't look in his direction. Neither one of them.
These girls are like smart, like they're from the Bronx.
They're smart and they have a connection with each other. Like they're following each other's cues, So he finds this super weird. He's like, what are they doing with two random guys on the back of the snowmobiles? Do they bring their boyfriends? Like, what is happening, right? And he finds it weird, but then when he...
we don't do boyfriends at 16.
Well, then when they ride past him and they don't acknowledge him, then he knows, okay, something's going on. Like, they wouldn't do that to me. Those are my nieces. I'm so close to them. They wouldn't ignore me like this. So he realizes, there's a problem. But they just completely ignored him because they said, both of them said, in that moment, they were thinking, if I acknowledge him, they're going to kill him.
Yep.
They pulled up to the family car, which is like a little ways down and across the street from Uncle Randy. But they still ignore him. They get off the snowmobiles. They get into the car. One of the guys has the gun on him, but the other guy puts his gun in the trunk of the car. And he says to...
Dash a chance.
He says to Trisha, he shows her a knife in his pocket, and he says, I'm just as good with a knife than I am with a gun, so don't try anything.
And they're a young little girl.
And she got scared, strong. Of course. They pull off, and they end up driving past their Uncle Randy. And one of the girls, I think it was Lene, said that she, like, corner of her eye stared at him. Like, it wasn't, like, full-blown stare, but it was, like, corner of the eye stare at him from across the street just to try to give him a signal, like, shit is going on. Something is wrong. And they drive off. And he's just standing there kind of, like, weirded out. But then all of a sudden, he hears a noise from the distance. I have chills again. He sees another snowmobile coming down the mountain.
Oh, someone that had been shot's coming down the mountain.
And he realizes his brother, Rolf, is flying down the mountain going after his daughters.
Oh, get him, Rolf.
So Rolf comes down the mountain. He is covered in blood. He has no coat on. His eyes are
In
swollen
my mind, he doesn't
shut.
even have a shirt on. He's out there like, let's get him.
His eyes are swollen shut because he was shot in the head, mind you. And he is burnt on his body. His body has multiple burns all over him.
Yo, Rolf's the man.
He drives up to Randy and he says, I've been shot. Kay and Beth are dead and the girls have been kidnapped. You have to help me. Right?
Shot in the head, burnt, and talking and everything.
Yeah.
Shirtless,
And
coming
literally
down the
blind
mountain.
because his eyes are swollen shut. He
Well,
can
like, if
barely
you
see.
squint, I guess, yeah, you could see a little bit.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the two men jump into Randy's truck. Rolf lays in the back seat because he's just like, he's lost so much blood at this point. I don't even know how he's alive, to be honest with you. So they start chasing the men.
He didn't want to die. Not me, not today.
Yeah, there you go. So they start chasing the men in Randy's truck. And Randy has a cell phone. And so he keeps trying to call 911, but they're in the middle of the mountains and this is 1990. Like, there's no service, no cell service.
They probably had Sprint. I had Sprint back then. That shit was trash. I couldn't get reception anywhere.
Well, he keeps calling 911 over and over and over, and it's just not going through. But he's like following the car. He's speeding down the mountain to try to catch up to the car. So he finally connects to 911, and he says his nieces have been kidnapped, and he tells the dispatcher which road they just turned down. But as he's about to say, I need a life flight helicopter for my boom, cuts off. The phone, the service cuts off.
Can you hear me now?
So
That's terrible.
He's in the middle of a sentence talking about how his brother needs a helicopter to get to the hospital, and it cuts off. There's a gas station about a mile away, so he speeds to the gas station, pulls in. The cops at this point know what street the bad people are on. So he pulls in, he gets on the payphone, calls 911 back and says, I need a helicopter for my brother. He's in critical condition. Like he lost a lot of blood. He really needs to go to the hospital.
I was scared when you said the phone cut off that meant the brother was dead. Like, oh, he stopped talking.
No,
the
phone.
I was a little relieved. I'm all about Ralph.
Yeah, Rolf is the bomb.
Yo, t-shirts, vote for Ralph.
Right? Vote for Rolf. So
no, wait,
now,
vote for Russ. Don't switch it up.
So he, calls 911 from this payphone. Now, meanwhile, in the car, the girls see another car pass them, do a quick U-turn, come back, and start following them. And now they get into a high-speed chase, okay?
In the snow.
Well, now they're on a street, so I don't know how snowy it is.
But it's snowing.
Yeah, in snow. So they're on this high-speed chase. One of the girls notices the speedometer. They're going over 100 miles per hour. The girls are just like
Probably
scared
a windy
to
road,
death.
snowy with trees.
Yeah, and they're being followed by this, what I'm assuming is a cop car, maybe an undercover cop car or whatever, but they're chasing them down the street.
Now they got hope.
Suddenly, the car the girls are in flies off a 40-foot embankment.
I knew this was coming.
Whoosh, flies off this cliff, almost rolls upside down. Poof. Okay.
Wow.
The girls are like super disoriented because the car almost
My mind's
rolled.
going nuts right now. I'm seeing this all in my head, like Paul Walker's driving, little Bow Wow's drifting around the corner. Like, it's crazy.
All of a sudden, the girls look up to the top of, up the embankment to the street, and they see multiple people with guns drawn, pistols, rifles drawn on the car. And they're like, okay, they got us. Like, they got them.
Yeah.
You guys already know because we have been talking about them for a while now. Via Hemp is by far one of our favorite sponsors we've ever had, okay? We use their products all the time. Maybe you're a little like me. You're a little anxious. You have a hard time settling down. You're kind of wound up a lot. If that's you, Via Hemp products are for you. Check out their website. You will find something that speaks to you. Maybe you're like Russ. You have a hard time sleeping because you have bad nerve pain or chronic pain. Then Via Hemp is for you because their gummies will help you get some quality sleep. Maybe you're looking to have a really good time. Maybe you just really like edibles. You want to laugh. You want to get the munchies. You want to watch a movie and have a really strong belly laugh. then Via Hemp products are for you, okay? They're literally for everybody. So head over to viahemp.com, promo code wife of crime number 1 to get 15% off your first order. That's VIIAHEMP.com, wife of crime number 1 for 15% off your first order. Last year, Save More Money was the most popular New Year's resolution in America. Clearly, a lot of us feel like our money is slipping through our fingers. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm not the best saver, and I don't know much about investing until I started saving and investing with Acorns. Turns out you don't have to be an expert at all because Acorns will recommend a diversified portfolio that fits you and your money goals. And I always thought that when people say, ooh, I invest in stocks, that they had a ton of money or something. Well, you don't need to be rich. Acorns lets you invest with the spare money you've got right now. You can literally start with $5. And you know you guys are spending that at Starbucks on these fancy lattes. So skip the coffee and invest with Acorns. You don't even need a ton of time. Like you can just sign up and start investing within 5 minutes. Head over to acorns.com/wifeofcrime or download the Acorns app to start saving and investing for your future today. That's acorns.com/wifeofcrime. So I guess they didn't realize that these were hostages. You know, the girls were hostages.
So they shot them.
They didn't shoot them. But at first, they were yelling for everybody to get out of the car and get down on the ground, get out of the car, get down on the ground. And the girls are just scared because, you know, they're trying to say like, we're hostages, we're hostages. So finally they realize, they get through the radio that the girls were taken, they were kidnapped and they were victims. So they grab the girls, they take them out of there and they force the 2 men on the ground. And one of the girls, Lene, says that when the guys were laying on the ground, it's like all that anger came out of everything that she just experienced. And she's like, shoot them, kill them.
That's right.
They just killed my whole family. They just killed my mother in front of me. They just killed my grandmother in front of me. They killed my father because the girls don't know their father's alive. They killed my father. Shoot them. But they don't. They apprehend them and take them into custody.
I wonder if she like kicked them and something.
I mean, not from what the interview I heard.
But she's little. The kicks won't even hurt that much.
So meanwhile, in the helicopter, Rolf is stabilized by paramedics and he arrives to the hospital and he gets sent to the ICU. He is like in super critical condition. He needs multiple blood transfusions. He is not doing well.
Even though he blazed down the mountain or whatever. In my mind, it was a mountain.
It is a mountain, yeah.
And
on the snowmobile, bleeding, burnt,
like Rambo with a bandana tied around his head.
That's what you imagine, right? That's what I imagine too.
And he had mad muscles.
So the girls get to their Uncle Randy and they find out that their dad is alive, and their dad becomes like a real life hero for them because if you think about it, you know, Randy...
Oh, no, he is a real-life hero.
No, he is. But I'm just saying, if you think about it, like, Randy was kind of confused about the whole situation. He's like, I don't know who these guys are. I don't know who these girls are. He was a little hesitant. And it wasn't until he saw his brother, you know, flying down the mountain that he, like, jumped on it and really made moves. But all the hesitation that he did, they could have been way far away. These girls could have been taken God knows where.
So the uncle's okay.
No, he didn't know what was happening.
But it doesn't matter. You just don't let them drive off and not say hello to you. Don't be rude. Because now, even if nothing was going on, I'm going to catch up to you, and now it's going to be a little bit of trouble. I say hello.
We're going to have words.
You saw me. Now you get a little bit of smoke.
So now they all rush to the hospital to be with their dad, okay? And Rolf later tells the girls that not only was he shot in the head, but they had covered him in gasoline. And he was on fire, but he came to, got himself off the ground.
Stop, drop, and roll.
Yep, ripped. He ran into the shower. While on fire, ripped off his snowsuit because he was wearing a snowsuit.
Told you he didn't have a shirt on.
He might have had it on underneath, but ripped off his snowsuit. He had like bits of the snowsuit stuck to his burnt skin. Jumped onto the damn snowmobile and chased them. He had lost like so much blood that they were just, even the people at the hospital were like, it's a miracle.
Yeah, but
this guy lived.
He didn't need that much blood because he's a gangster.
So the police get the family members to the hospital, and they now need to go and preserve the crime scene. And they need to investigate, you know, what this was, what these guys were doing, what's going on here. When they get to the cabin, they start like going through.
Yeah, this story's mad good.
Yeah, I know. They start going through all the evidence that, you know, at the scene. They start walking the scene, figuring out like what their steps were, trying to figure out a motive of what's going on. And then they see a video camera with a tape inside. So the police decide...
Wait, not like a surveillance camera. They didn't have those in the 90s.
No, a video camera, like the one that you put on your shoulder. My mom and dad had one. Those big ones with an actual VHS tape.
And it might have been a little one that you got to put into
the big one.
Yo, for the youngins that don't know, go look it up.
Yeah, there's a lot of young people that probably don't realize you had actual VHS tapes inside of a camera.
Yeah, if you don't know what that is, I don't care.
You're
Whatever.
too young.
No, you're not. Just know your history.
So they grab this tape. They're like, all right, you know, let's see what's on this tape. And they're pretty shocked at what they see. So the men's names were Von Taylor and Edward Deli. And a little bit of history about them is they met in a halfway house after being released from prison a few months earlier.
Oh yeah, no way is this your first crime. If you're just like in a house that you broke into, you're living there, you're opening presents. You're not supposed to open the presents.
Yeah.
And you're shooting people on site.
Well, both the men were not in prison for violent crimes. And actually, neither one of them had a violent criminal history.
Yes, but that doesn't mean that they have not committed violent crimes. That means they have not been caught for violent crimes they have committed.
That's
they probably
true.
got caught for the bullshit.
Yeah, you're right. That's right. So one of them was in prison for arson, and the other one was in prison for burglary.
Is arson setting fires?
Yeah. And the other one was in prison for burglary.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
So they decided to... Russ, I can't.
Sweet
I
Brown.
love Sweet
That's
Brown,
Sweet
though.
Brown.
I do. I love her.
I got bronchitis.
I love Sweet Brown.
Oh, this is going to get us a 1-star.
I mean...
Russ off topic again.
No one can get mad about mentioning Sweet Brown. She's the best.
Sweet Brown. Look her up on YouTube.
I wish she could be a guest on
Ain't
the
nobody
podcast.
got time for that. Very funny. Oh, I don't know if everyone knows this. She was also on Jerry Springer in the audience and showed her boobs for beads. It's out there. When she was in her prime, probably, because when she was on the video, she was a little older.
It's funny that you know this. All right, so
Hashtag Russ facts.
Okay, yeah, that's true. Okay, so let me go back. So Edward Deli and Von Taylor, they met in a halfway house after being released from prison, right? They were both in prison for nonviolent crimes. One was arson, one was burglary.
Halfway house is where you go after jail.
Yes, after jail or rehab.
And like you kind of live there a little and they give you like a curfew type thing?
Yeah, they give you rules. You're allowed to go and get employment or whatever, but you have to like be home at a certain time, and you like have all these rules. You have to like be held accountable to people before you can re-enter society freely. But I think a lot of people who go to halfway houses choose to go there, unless I don't think it's court ordered, but I'm not positive about that.
Well, I could understand that.
It could be court ordered.
Because coming out of jail, if you lived on your own and now you don't have nowhere to live, you got to get your next step. It seemed like it could be a good thing. Oh no,
I'm sure it's good for a lot of people, but not good for these two pieces of shit, because they met each other and they got a pass to go out for like a job search, to go out looking for jobs, but they decided to not go back to the halfway house and hitchhike up to this mountain where these cabins were.
Did they kill the person that hitchhiked them there?
I don't think so. We don't know. They ended up going up to these cabins because one of the guys had a family member, like a distant family member, who owned one of the cabins at some point. So he knew that these cabins existed. So he was like, let's go up there. We'll break into these cabins. We'll cabin hop a little bit.
And they're probably vacation cabins. They're usually empty.
Yes, exactly. So they knew that they weren't probably going to get caught. They could live off of whatever's in these cabins until they figured out their next move.
No one could resist opening presents. And they even open presents.
No, I could. I'm not a criminal, so but that's just disgusting. Like, you're in someone's house. You're just making yourself at home, eating their food, opening their presents. It's just so cold and gross.
Nah, I could kind of see that part. Like, I wouldn't do it because, like...
Because you're not a piece of shit?
No, I'm not a piece of shit. I'll pay rent and, like, get a job and stuff, even though you don't want to. But, like, you know, if you're like Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn or something, you're just, like, hopping from cabin to cabin with your knapsack and eating people's food in their house that they don't even go to.
Yeah.
And you look at it as probably, like, stealing from the rich because they have their second homes and... You know, if you think people are rich if they have a second home.
I don't know. I hate them. They killed a mother and a grandmother.
Oh, no,
How do you just shoot a poor grandmother and a mother in front of her daughter?
No, they're obviously terrible people, and they deserve all the smoke, and hopefully someone rapes them in jail or something.
Well, the night before, on the 21st, the two scumbags filmed themselves on camera making jokes about being in the house, opening all the presents, and then they talk about what they're going to do when the family gets home. They start joking and laughing about it on camera.
Wow.
So they had planned on waiting for the family to get home so they could kill them, take their vehicles, and escape. I'll post the video, because they have the video. You can watch it on YouTube of these two idiots. I'll post it on wifeofcrime.com. I don't know if it's the whole video, but it's on YouTube.
Wow,
so
that's actually out there?
Yeah, I'll post it. You can watch it. They're just sitting there like,
I want to see it right
going
now.
through the presents. The two men were charged and awaited trial. In addition to the murders, they were charged with like 8 to 10 other felonies.
I'm not necessarily like a death penalty dude, and I know recently I saw something about like everybody saying death penalty stuff. These dudes don't deserve to live.
Yeah.
Like, they shouldn't be on the earth. And I'm not pro death penalty. I'm not against it. I don't know. But I know these dudes shouldn't be on the earth. Like, if you're just going to shoot the grandma and mom, and they contribute nothing.
And the father in front of their children.
Burn people. Yeah. They deserve horrible things.
Well, you're going to be very interested in what ends up happening.
Oh, get them.
So the two men did not receive the same conviction. They were charged separately, and they were convicted very differently. So 5 months...
One's going to snitch and get off easier.
5 months after the crime, Von Taylor pleaded guilty to capital murder. And the state dropped all the other charges because he pleaded guilty to 2 counts of capital murder.
And you probably don't get out for capital murder.
No, you can be sentenced to death, which he was. He decided to do a jury sentencing, so the jury had to decide, and they sentenced him to the death penalty. Deli, on the other hand, decided to not plead guilty, and he decided to go to a jury trial and do the full trial thing in front of a jury. Now, the 2 girls had to testify in court in front of him, and it's kind of sick, to be honest. When you look at like the court footage, these 2, at the time they were 16, 17 years old. They had to play out the entire scene in front of their perpetrator and the jury. They had to hold up the gun and show how the men were pointing the gun at their mother and grandmother.
For lack of a better term, these some badass bitches though. Like, they're just out there like they were are. Like, she thought about running into the tree. They're giving the dad the look. The uncle, he's mediocre.
Oh,
but like,
Uncle Randy.
Uncle Randy still helped a little.
No, he helped a lot.
No, he helped.
Poor guy.
He probably was a little scared.
Give him credit.
But these are some badass girls. I shouldn't have said bitches.
No, they are badass.
Whatever. Don't cancel Russ.
They are. So they had to testify in court in front of their perpetrator and the jury.
I meant that in a good way. Like,
I know what you meant.
In a good way.
Edward Deli's lawyer during the trial argued that he, although involved, didn't do any of the actual shooting.
Could be the point. Who's the trigger man?
But all of a sudden, they call Rolf Tiede as a witness.
Came in with his shirt off.
And he comes down the aisle, and obviously Deli...
The story got me hyped.
...didn't know that he was still alive.
That's right.
And so Rolf Tiede testifies that, yes, in fact...
He rode through the courtroom, down the aisle in a snowmobile, took his shirt off, took the stand, like...
and got
not
this dude.
me, not today.
Yes.
You.
He got him convicted. So, even though, he testified to the fact that Deli did in fact pull the trigger and, attempt to murder him.
Yeah.
So he should be also getting a murder charge. Because of one juror out of the 12, he was convicted to second-degree murder, which does not qualify for a death sentence in Utah, and he was sentenced to life in prison for murder in the second degree.
Well, that juror, if you ever listen to this, probably not. But you're dumb.
Yeah, well...
Everyone told you, and they were there, and they pointed at the person. So...
I think I'm sure that the juror probably doesn't like the death penalty and doesn't want anybody to be sentenced to death. People have very strong opinions about that. So...
Yeah, but there's certain people that in life they don't like add nothing to life. They're only taking, and this person's taking in a very bad way.
Mm-hmm.
They're not contributing to society. They're just like, I don't know the right word, raping and pillaging. Like they were obviously trying to steal these little girls to rape these little girls and shit. They don't deserve to be on the earth. And I'm not even pro death penalty. Maybe if someone just like throws them in a fiend and put them to sleep, like I don't care who does it or if it's legal. Like street justice them, do them Bible style, stone them to death. Like it don't have to be legit.
Well, so one of them was sentenced to death, one of them was sentenced to life, but they both were put away, and the family now had to emotionally heal, and it took years for them to heal and rebuild, emotionally, but they decided to rebuild their cabin. And they decided to keep it in the family, and they decided to have it as a place where their family could continue to go and celebrate all the wonderful times they had with their mom and their grandmother. And, just, it was their way of healing from this terrible situation.
That's crazy.
So Rolf Tiede died from cancer in 2008.
R.I.P. Rolf, top 5 gangster of all time.
He died
in a good way.
Yeah, he was amazing. He was like the best father ever. So he was surrounded by his daughters and grandchildren when he died. And the two girls grew up and married and had kids.
I wonder how old he was. Hope he made it to like a good age.
Yeah, hopefully. I don't know how old.
Well, he was a dad in 1990.
So 2008. That's 18 years.
18 years. Hopefully you made it a good age.
Yeah. So since 2020 is the worst year of all time and bearer of terrible news, this is super on trend for this crappy year. In March, Von Taylor's death sentence was converted and overturned by a federal judge. And it was overturned to a life sentence, or overturned and converted to a life sentence, because the federal judge, after multiple appeals, says that at the time, Von Taylor had inadequate counsel. He had a public defender defending him, and apparently the public defender didn't do a good job.
Shout out to you, public defender.
He might have tried to sandbag this.
Hell
because...
Yeah. That'd be me.
Yeah.
I'd show up late, like employees showing up with Dunkin' Donuts coffee 20 minutes late. Like, oh, I was supposed to be here on time, but I had time to pick up this coffee and donuts. Shout out to my terrible employees that used to do that.
So, unfortunately... He spent 30 years on death row, but now he is serving a life sentence in a Utah prison.
And now what happened probably was it wasn't publicized like that. So had he went in jail right away, he would have got the smoke probably in jail. You're stealing little girls. But now he's probably just an old timer in jail, relaxed, having a decent time.
Because he's been on death row for 30 years, yeah.
Yo, if you guys are in jail with him, beat him up.
Now
I'll send you a calling card. No, for real. Check Russ the Profiler on Instagram. If you give him the smoke, I'll send you a $10 calling card.
You're a mess. So now this part of the story is pretty interesting. Later in life, Lene, the daughter who watched her mother and grandmother be shot, she received a letter from Edward Deli. he wrote her a letter, and she received this letter that he had written, and it was like pages long,
I don't even want to
asking for forgiveness, talking about how he, how
if he
was,
found Jesus, I'm going to lose my shit.
I don't know if he found Jesus or not, but the point is that it took her 9 years to actually read the letter in full, because she would read part of it and then stop. And then finally she decided for herself to let go of all of this anger and resentment, that she would forgive him for what he did. And she said that it helped her move forward. It helped her stop being so closed off emotionally against people. And then she ended up getting married and having children after that. But, everyone heals in different ways. Her sister, on the other hand, was like, no, fuck that. Like, I'm never forgiving either one of them. They ruined my family.
Now, I understand letting it go.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's her way of saying she let it go, by saying she forgave him. Like, I'm going to let go of the anger, but if I ever had the chance, I would put this knife right in your head.
Yeah, maybe. So that is the story of the Tiede family Christmas murders. And it's a crazy story. And it seems like you liked it.
Yo, that was the best one yet. That one had me hyped.
You've said that like about 5 different episodes.
Yeah, well, we had like 40, so we had like 5 to top the other 5. That one was the best one because I love vengeance and smartness, and my boy Rolf coming down the mountain with his shirt off. This dude he probably looked like Freddy Krueger and Rambo combined. He had his shirt off, and he was bulging, and his veins were popping out. He's like, I'm saving my daughters. Like, and then the daughter wanted to run into the tree, and that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But
you also see her point of like, I don't want my sister out of my sight.
I got my other sister, so maybe I could try to help her. So they were smart. You know what that was? That was good genes. They was cut from Rolf's cloth.
That's true, yeah.
And they had the same smarts
genes. And will to live.
The brother, you're all right. You probably should have.
Uncle Randy, leave him alone.
But good thing Uncle Randy didn't chase them right away. He and the pops came down, because then he really knew. And then that probably motivated him.
Yeah. It's a good story,
but Randy,
right?
Shout out to you. You all right.
So that's it. That's that's the first episode of season 2.
You know what I was thinking, though?
What?
So I wonder how much the house was on fire. Like, because he left the house while his other relatives were in the house. That's so crazy. I wonder if he checked them to look if they were dead, or he went right after the daughters. And
I don't know. The cops say that at the crime scene, when they walked into the garage, so I don't know how much it must have burnt, because when they got into the garage, they saw a puddle of blood where Rolf clearly was bleeding from his head, and then they saw like a blood like handprint like across the wall from where he was like holding onto the wall walking.
He probably was so weak to hold himself up, but still pulled through the snow and gotten on a snowmobile.
Yeah. Crazy story.
Much respect.
I know. All right, everybody. So this was your Merry Christmas episode and start of season 2. I hope you guys enjoyed the story as much as Russ did and I did. Check us out on Wife of Crime Pod on Instagram, Wife of Crime, the Crime Family on Facebook, and wifeofcrime.com. I will post the video and a bunch of pictures and all kinds of stuff from this case on there, so definitely look out for it. And we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Yeah, but don't forget #vote for Russ, because that's
#vote for Rolf. Vote for Rolf.
How you spell Rolf?
ROLF. Vote for Rolf. That's what I should call this episode. #vote for Rolf.
We're going too far.
All right.
No. All right. Peace, everybody.
Bye.